Welcome, ladies and gentlemen, to Championship Bowling, where each week we present the nation's outstanding bowling stars in match game competition. And this is Fred Wolf speaking to you from the beautiful Olympia Lanes here in Chicago Heights, Illinois, just on the outskirts of Chicago. This week, two more great bowling stars, and we bring back for the fifth consecutive appearance, Joe Gum Chewing Wilman from Chicago. Joe, in the past 4 weeks, we've been mentioning the fact that you probably are the most vicious gum chewer in the bowling business. You got a fresh stick there?
I've got a fresh package.
You're all set up package.
I'm ready.
Well, we got a real tough package for you this week, Joe. From Detroit, a young fella that I've seen a lot of in my day, and he may make things a little difficult for you. Let's bring him out here. Eddie Lubanski. Eddie? You, boy.
Thank you, Fred.
It's like old home week out here, isn't it?
Yes, sir.
All right, Wilman's well acquainted with the rules, Eddie. He's been around here so long, so I'll go over them with you. $1,000, 3 games, total pins. $50 to the winner of the first game. $75 to the winner of the second. $100 to the winner of the third game. Is that clear?
Right.
See if this doesn't fog you up a bit. $10,000 additional dollars should either of you two gentlemen roll a perfect score. If both of you can roll a perfect score, I happen to have $20,000 here. Is that all right?
It's a beautiful dream.
Have you boys flipped that coin to see?
Yes, we tossed.
What is your choice, Joe?
I won the toss, so I start on 13.
13. Shake hands, boys. ABC rules,
luck, Eddie.
all-star rules will prevail. Ready for game number 1 on Championship Bowling. Joe Wilman, who has now won the toss for 3 consecutive weeks, again has chosen the left side, alley 13 here at Chicago Heights, Illinois. The Olympia Lanes, 16 beautiful Brunswick lanes with automatic Brunswick pin setters working beautifully as Wilman throws in the first frame and gets a strike. Well, that's the way to do it. Joe Wilman, who has been around in this bowling game for some 35 years, faces this young fella from Detroit, Eddie Lubanski. He resides in Oak Park, Michigan, a suburb of Detroit. Was quite a ball player in his day. Played the minor leagues, was a good pitcher. He just decided he didn't want to become a ball player, and he quit it. He liked bowling, and he's been doing pretty good. He's too high. He has the 6-7 split. Eddie did not get that one out in front of him. He seemed to just get it on the alley with no lift whatsoever. Eddie usually gets his ball well out in front of him, and it got away from him, climbed up on the nose, and he has a 6-7 split to give Wilman a running start here in game number 1. Joe, who has been averaging .216 for 12 games. Eddie, watch it. Too much. Too much of the 6-spin. Eddie is open in the first. So Lubanski has 9 in the first frame. Wilman has a strike. Against Bill Bonetta 5 weeks ago, Joe started with .257. He opened with .222 against McMahon. He opened with .245 against Graz Castellano last week. So he likes to go the first game. There's Lubanski now, right after him. Eddie Lubanski, who will show you a lot of the old college try. He throws that ball, and if he knows it's in the pocket, he'll come a-flying one way or another. So Eddie has a strike in the second. Wilman, with a strike in the first frame, can get a 20-pin advantage at the end of 2. And that's what Joe would like to have. Joe at 170 pounds, born in Fontanet, Indiana. He got away with it. Well, he just barely got to the pocket. There were still 4 or 5 Brunswick Red Crown pins still on the alley. Joe didn't even get him in the pit, but he has a double. He moves to the left side. Wilman with those 4 steps. There's the crouch he's famous for. He's out. He's coming back. He's coming back. He's got it. Joe Wilman looking certainly in great shape here this week on Championship Bowling, his 5th consecutive appearance. And now Lubanski is really on the spot because Eddie's got to have this one to stay within 21 pins of Wilman. Eddie gets that ball right under his chin. 5 short steps out, never come back. Never come back. He has the 1-2-4. So Eddie, who was too high in the first frame, left a wide open split. Naturally was thinking of that in the third frame on a strike. Did not get up to the head pin. He has the 1, 2, and the 4. Lubanski now will try to cover this one. This is a shot that gave Wilman and Castellano quite a lot of trouble last week. He goes across. He's got it. So Lubanski is 29 in the second, spare in the third frame.
One ball,
Eddie Lubanski, born in Detroit in 1929. Worked in his grandfather's grocery store when he was a youngster. And every time he got an extra buck, he'd stop in at the Shane Trombley Recreation and bowl a couple of games. Here's Eddie in the fourth. Throws. Hurry. He has a 10-pin. Got a lot of action, but not enough. Eddie has rolled 13 perfect scores in his young career. He's only been bowling for 14 years. His first year, he averaged 146 in league competition. So you see, you just don't start. Being a 200 bowler, you've got to work on it, which is not a bad idea. When you see these boys work out here for you this week, try some of these things you see. At the 10-pin, Eddie converts. So up steps the old pro, Joe Wilman. Started as a pin setter. Likes to play golf in the off-season. Is a member of the Brunswick Advisory Staff of Champions. He's on 3. He's got to hurry. He got it. Well, Joe has 4 in a row, and both of his strikes on alley 14. Believe me, we just didn't think they would get there. $10,000. That's what Joe's thinking of. Can't blame him for that. He's only 8 strikes away. Wilman, who has already rolled 10 perfect scores. No reason why he can't get his 11th right here. He's got 5. He's off and running, and he has a tremendous lead already over his young opponent from Detroit, Eddie Lubanski. So Wilman is clean through 5. Lubanski steps in now in the 5th. Lubanski just about 10 inches farther back than Wilman, but he still takes 5 steps to Wilman's 4. Hurry, hurry, he gets there, but he doesn't carry, just getting a part of the head pin. Eddie has the 2-5-8, a very treacherous conversion, 3 pins in a cluster, and of course the possibility here is the fact that the boys will pick the 2-pin, which is the front pin, the closest to us. He will pick that pin right off in front of the 5, which is to the extreme right. Now, Eddie's playing practically center alley. Throws, got to hurry. He's got there. He just got that 8-pin out of there with the ball, following through, proving that Eddie's ball does keep coming, and it had to come there. So Eddie, with 65 in the 4th, has a spare in the 5th. Wilman is potential 120 in the 4th. He has a lead of 55 pins. Lubanski now throwing, got to hurry. 10-pin again. So Eddie has had 2 10-pins on the left side. Coming in from the outside, not getting all the action that he wanted. Result, a 10-pin. Eddie throws a 2-finger ball. One of the few all-stars still in the game throwing a 2-finger ball. Eddie did just the opposite to what most of the boys did. Fellas like Joe Wilman, Joe Norris, many of the other boys, they started with 2s and switched to 3. Eddie has it. Eddie started with a 3 and then switched to 2. So the scoreboard reads Lubanski 84 in the 5th, a spare in the 6th. Joe Wilman is all the way with 5 strikes in a row through the end of the 5th frame. Joe Wilman. He's out. He's coming solid this time. He's there solid. So Wilman gets on the track, and he has 6 in a row. He is halfway. Halfway, ladies and gentlemen. We can sit here perfectly relaxed. But just think what's going through Wilman's mind right now. And his poor wife, who is sitting here with her fingers crossed. He throws. He's got to hurry. He's got it. Pay attention, ladies and gentlemen. It could be happening. Wilman has the first 7. And here is Eddie Lubanski, who walked into a buzzsaw this week. Joe Wilman, who has been averaging .216 for 12 games in 4 previous appearances. And Eddie has 1 strike in 6 frames. He had the 6-7 split in the first game, followed with a strike, followed with 4 spares. He's now in the 7th. He throws. He's too high, and he has another wide-open split on this alley, the 4-7-10. Eddie Lubanski now with 101 in the 6th, a spare in the 7th, and Joe Wilman really turning it on here on championship bowling. In the audience this week from Grand Rapids, Michigan, one of our great women's stars is Marion Ledwick, 5 times the national singles champion. Not enough, and Eddie has an opener. Stone cold in the 7th with 110. And Eddie now moves to the left. 16 Brunswick alleys. And you folks around Chicago who had a chance to see the 1956 National Match Game Championships, these are the same 16 alleys. I'll tell you something else about these very 2 in a minute. Here's Lubanski. Finally gets up there. Eddie reaching out beautifully with a strike in the 8th, and here comes Joe Wilman. Joe Wilman, who lost the 1956 individual match game championships to Chicago and Bill Lillard in the 10th frame of the 100th game. Lillard had finished. Wilman stepped up. He needed a spare to become the 56 champion. He was on this very alley, and he left the 1-2-10. This time he left the 10-pin. A good hit. Got a lot of action out of the 6-pin, but it stayed in the gutter. And Wilman has stopped at 7, and the $10,000 is fluttering away. Well, it still can happen. Wilman has a lead of approximately 88 pins at the end of 8 frames. He shoots at the 10 and converts it. So Joe Wilman, who started with 7 strikes in a row, finally lost a 10-pin tap in the 8th frame, and he can relax again now as he goes into the 9th frame. Joe Wilman, born in Fontenette, Indiana in 1906. Throws here in the 9th frame, and he's in there. Oh, that 10-pin in the 9th. Joe would very much like to have had that 8th one to at least walk up in the 10th frame with a $10,000 bill dangling at him. But now he can go out for $279 in the first game, and what a job this fellow's been doing in the first game. He must be averaging around $235 in each of his first games in the past 5 weeks. Here's Lubanski. Eddie's on a strike. He gets that one out. He's got it. Don't count this fella out of here. Now, Eddie has had 2 wide-open splits on the right side, alley 14, the alley that he just mastered. That was his first strike on alley 14, an alley that has been very troublesome to Eddie here in the first game. Lubanski throwing. Hurry, he's spin. He doesn't carry the 2-pin. So Eddie Lubanski, who has rolled 13 perfect scores himself, turned in a .221 season average during the 1955-56 season in the Detroit Major Classic. For the 1954 runner-up to Steve Nagy in the National Match Game Singles Championships here in Chicago, converts the 2-pin in the 9th frame. So Eddie would have liked to have had that one. He now is 159 in the 7th. A full count will give him 179. Wilman is potential 279, and Joe could actually have a lead of 100 pins at the end of the first game. Here's Eddie in the 10th. Throws this one. Got a little more in the pocket, but he had probably not as good a result because he left the 5-7. He got away with a 2-pin, and Eddie sits down with 177 and watches his veteran opponent, Joe Wilman, step in the 10th. Joe could have 9 strikes in a row. He left a 10-pin right here in the 8th frame. And as we mentioned, it was on this very alley where Joe lost the 1956 National Individual Match Game Championship. Now, should he get 3 strikes here, he can add $10,000 to that. He's got the first. So it would be a rather sad tale, wouldn't it, for me to say that here's Wilman on the very same alley that cost him probably $25, $35, maybe $50,000 by not winning the national singles eliminations. Left a 10-pin solid in the 8th frame. He needs 2 more strikes for $279. That's $10,000 more. Joe may want to put a torch to this alley over some weekend when nobody's looking. He's got it. Too high, too high, too high. And he has the 4-7. Well, I think Joe's very happy. He's going to have himself 267. That's quite a start. He'll have a lead of 90 pins. That's 45 pins a game for Lubanski to get back. That's quite an assignment. So Wilman's average for his first game over the past 5 weeks and his appearances here on Championship Bowling is going to be right up around 230. So at the end of 1, it's Wilman with 267. He gets a handshake from his opponent, Eddie Lubanski, who had 177. We'll be back now with game number 2 on Championship Bowling after this brief message. The first game, Joe Wilman, 267 over Eddie Lubanski's 177. How'd you like that game, folks? Pretty good? How's it going, boy? Joe, $50 for winning game number 1. You have a lead of 90 pins with 2 games to go. Don't you feel you can rest a little bit?
I wish it was 90 with 1 to go, Freddie.
I wish it was 90 with 1 to go. Joe, your average is now up to 221, I understand, for all the games here. That would make it about 13 straight games. That's a pretty good job.
Shooting over my head.
Let's get the average up a little bit. Ready for game number 2 on Championship Bowling. Here's young Eddie Lubanski trailing Joe Wilman by 90 pins. 20 frames to pick them up. And don't think this fella can't do it. And if he does, believe me, it'll be quite an accomplishment. Lubanski will have to go. He can't make any mistakes. He throws. He's in the first. He's got it. Eddie Lubanski, who has done a marvelous job in the National Individual Match Game Championships the last few years. He's been on Mort Luby's All-American First Team, 53, 54, 55, 3 consecutive years. So the young fella knows what to do with a bowling ball. But here's a veteran campaigner who's doing pretty good himself. He is averaging 235 for his first game in each match. And now things begin to change as Wilman has the 4-7-10 in the first frame, and Lubanski will start hacking away at that 90 pins. Oh, he's got to do a lot of chopping. Wilman has now won $4,550. Watch this shot. Hurry, hurry. Not enough. Doesn't get over there. He leaves the 10-pin. So Wilman is open in the first frame, just like Lubanski was in the first game. And we could just about reverse the situation and make this match close as we go into the 3rd and final game. And Wilman now steps in the 2nd frame. He's on the left side. The alley that he thinks is the tougher of the 2. He's way out there. Look out. Almost had the 4-5. He got out of that one very fortunate. He has a very easy conversion now. He has the 2-4, one you don't see too often. In our audience here this week at Chicago Heights, Illinois, we see George Burton, member of the Bowling Writers Association from the Long Island Star-Journal in New York. And here's Wilman at the 2-4. Got it. So Wilman now, with his 9 in the first frame, has a spare in the 2nd, and here's young Eddie Lubanski from Detroit. Eddie is on a strike. He can take 20 pins away from Wilman. With this one, he's too high. Oh, he's got the 7-9. So Eddie has been open 3 times on alley 14. He started with a 6-7 split in the first frame of the first game. He had the 4-7-10 in the seventh frame of the first game. And here is the practically impossible conversion of the 7-9. This is game number 2 on championship bowling. Lubanski at the 7. Ooh! Well, he brought that pin back off the cushion all right, but it was a little to the left. And that's the way to make that one. And that's what he was trying to do. Wouldn't have been exactly luck. So Lubanski now is ice cold with 28 in the second. So the frame's now reduced to 18, but Lubanski must pick up 90 pins. Eddie throwing, coming. He's there. So Eddie having no trouble on the left side. Can't master alley 14. And Wilman now steps in on alley 14. Joe hasn't been having too much luck here either. Here's Joe in his 5th consecutive appearance. I think he's won the toss 4 of the 5 weeks he's been on, and he always chooses to finish on this alley, which seems to be the tougher of the two for Joe. He's in there. Joe finally masters the situation. He has a strike now in the 3rd. 29 back there in the 2nd. Both boys are on strikes. Wilman has a 1-pin advantage. Joe asked us before we started this week on championship bowling, he said, "Freddie, have you noticed, do I chew my gum actually when I'm at the foul line throwing the ball? Or I can't see. I don't know what you folks think. Is he? Is he? He's got a double. Well, he's chewing it coming back. You could bet on that."
Come on, Eddie.
So Eddie Lubanski steps in now as Wilman gets his double. Eddie's got to match that one. There's $75 going here in game number 2. $100 will go in game number 3. And $1,000 will go to the 3 games, total pins. And Mr. Wilman has certainly got his hand on that. And his winnings will get up around to be $5,600. Eddie finally gets in the pocket on 14. He's down on both knees, but he leaves the 10-pin. Didn't help. Lubanski now with a 10-pin staring him in the face in the 4th frame. He finds Wilman getting away from him again at the end of 4. Cross alley, Eddie has the 10-pin. This boy throws a real fine bowling ball. It's got a lot of stuff on it. He has mastered the 2-finger ball, but the question is, a boy in action as much as these all-stars are today, whether or not his knuckle can hold up. That's the reason that most of the boys change from 2 to a 3. If you're going to get out there and bowl 3 and 4 and 5 times a week, that finger gets a little sore around the knuckle, and the 3-finger ball will relieve some of that wear and tear. But Eddie still sticks with the 2, reaches out, he's got it, leaves the 4-pin this time. Eddie Lubanski not able to get off the ground here. He can't get the strikes, he can't string them out. He gets single strikes, he can't get the doubles. Eddie was a member of the National Match Game Team Champions for 4 years. The Detroit team that won so many titles. Lubanski now at the 4-pin. He's got it. So it's 667. 67 for Lubanski in the 4th. He has a spare in the 5th frame, and Joe Wilman works on a double. And here is Wilman trying to extend that lead. He throws, got to hurry. Doesn't get there, and he has the 2-8. So Wilman goes 28 in the 3rd frame, which makes it 57. The conversion here will give him 77, a 10-pin advantage over Lubanski at the end of 5. Watch it. He just got there. The ball hitting both pins, as you notice, on a setup of that kind, the ball hitting the 2-pin, that was the pin in front. As it hit the pin, it has the tendency to ricochet slightly to the right, and sometimes you don't get through there to get that 8-pin. sometimes called a blind pin or a mother-in-law or whatever you want to call it. When you leave it up there, you have your own idea, I suppose. Here's Wilman now in the 6th. His margin is 10 pins at the end of 5. Throws. Hurry. He's there. He's got it. Joe Wilman now with a strike in the 6th. He has 97 in the 5th frame with that strike in the 6th. Lubanski is 67 with a spare in the 5th frame. Eddie trails by 10 pins in this, the 2nd game.
One ball, boy.
And Wilman, of course, with that 90-pin advantage at the end of the 1st game, at the halfway mark, has about 100 pins to work on. That should be enough. There's $75 extra here in this one. Eddie's up there, thin, gets it. So Eddie finally has mastered the alley. That has certainly cost him some 40, 50 or more pins. Eddie has had 3 wide-open splits on alley 14 on the right side. The greatest bowling stars in the nation. $1,000 to the winner. $10,000 for a 300 score. All you need is 12 like that. So Lubanski working for that $75 and probably secretly within himself still thinks there's a chance to catch Wilman, who leads him by 100 pins. Joe now averaging 220 plus for 13 consecutive games. Joe throws, hurry, 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 doesn't get there, leaves the 2-5. So Lubanski now has put this one practically even. So he's got the margin back to 90 pins, and if he could get about 40 of those this game, he could make a contest out of this. A few weeks ago, Don Carter trailed Buddy Boomar by 64 pins going into the 3rd game, and Don picked up 61 of them. Almost got enough. Wilman at the 2-5. Watch it. He got it. Ooh. That was pick all the way down. Joe don't know what hit the 5-pin. Something hit it. It's gone, and Joe got a spare. And that's all he has to do is worry about filling up those frames. Wilman again. Hurry. He's there. He's got it. Joe Wilman, who started with 265, still has a chance for 227. Lubanski has a chance for 237. Let's watch him. He's on 2. Tries for 3. He could be good. He's got it. Oh, he could have it now. That was probably the best hit that he's shown us on alley 14. He's 3 in a row now, and he has a 10-pin advantage on Wilman. Now, if Eddie can get this one in the 9th, go all the way in the 10th, he'll have 237. A bad break for Wilman will put him under 200. In fact, Joe needs a double for 200. Eddie could chop quite a few pins off of that margin, but he's got to have this one. He can't make any mistakes. He didn't get it. Didn't get the kick. Deserved a better fate on that one, but the 7-pin is up there. And those Brunswick Red Crown pins get stubborn occasionally. You've got to hit them. Here's Eddie now. He's in the 9th. He has a 9-pin lead on Wilman. Throws at the 7 and converts it. Lubanski now will watch Wilman as he steps up in the 9th frame, and Joe is on a strike, and a strike here will put this game right back on an even basis. Hurry up, hurry up. Too much, 4-pin. So Eddie still has the 9-pin advantage. A conversion here by Joe will put the boys both with spares in the 9th as they go into the 10th frame. Joe Wilman, who won the National Individual Match Game Championship in 1945. The year before that, he was second to Buddy Boomar in 44. Then in 47, he was second to Andy Verapapa when a 10-pin stopped him in the 10th frame of the 100th game. In 1956, he's got that. In 56, in the 10th frame of the 100th game, the 1-2-10 stopped him. He did not convert the 1-2-10. All he had to do was get a spare. He couldn't do it. So Joe has won that title once and has finished second 3 times. So we're into the 10th. This is championship bowling. Wilman, 57. Spare in the ninth. Throws in, carry. So Wilman now has 177 in the ninth. If he gets two more, he'll have 207, and that will force Lubanski to double in the 10th. Joe up short, finally gets his 2 feet together. There's the crouch. He throws. He is in there and kicks the 4-pin, and he has the double in the 10th. And he needs the full count to force Lubanski to double. Now, 9 pins here by Wilman. We may be walking into a tie game. Wilman now, full count. We'll give him 207. He's got it. So Mr. Lubanski has got to get 2 strikes to win this one. So Joe, who started with a split, pulled this one out. Gives him 207 and a total of 474 for the 2 games. Lubanski now has 166 in the 8th. He has a spare in the 9th. He's got to go all the way. 216. He can win by 9 pins. Eddie throws. Hurry, hurry. He's got it. Eddie, who's beginning to look like himself the past few frames. He had a triple in the 6th, 7th, and 8th. He lost a hit right in front of that in the 5th, and he lost another one in the 9th. He's had a 10-pin, a 4-pin, and a 7-pin. The rest are strikes. Now he needs this one for $75. Watch it. He's too high. Too high. Didn't get the break. It had to be a lucky one. So Eddie now is 1 pin away from 206, and they'll lose this one by 1 pin. So you see how important Wilman's 3 strikes were in the 10th. So the margin will be 91 pins as we go into the 3rd and final game with another $100 at stake. Here's Lubanski at the 7-pin. He's got it. So it's Lubanski 206, Wilman 207. And now this is Fred Will standing by with our 2 great bowling stars on Championship Bowling. And before the presentations in game number 3, we have this brief message. Well, the second game, the same story. Joe Wilman, the winner, 207 over Eddie Lubanski's 206. Come out here, Joe. I'd like to get the smile on your face when you walk toward me on camera sometime, Joe. We'll have to try to take you from the back to see how that looks. That's a tremendous smile.
Freddie, I like to shake your hand.
$75 more, Joe. You're now flirting around $4,625. We're ready for game number 3. You have a lead of 91 pins. Do you think you have enough now?
I never have enough.
Never have enough. All right, let's help him. Joe Wilman, ready for game number 3. Ready to go. Ready for the 3rd game on Championship Bowling. And here is Joe Wilman, who is making his 5th consecutive appearance. For the 14 games bowled thus far, Joe is averaging 219.11. He throws, he leaves the 10-pin. Joe doing a marvelous job here against more of the nation's top bowling stars. This week he has young Eddie Lubanski. Eddie started with 177, having trouble on alley 14. He's had 3 wide-open splits on the same alley. He had 206 the second game as Wilman struck all the way out from the 9th frame for 207 to win by 1 pin. $100 still at stake in the 3rd game. $1,000 for the total pins. Wilman has a spare. Wilman has now won $4,625. Is a chance to win another $1,100, which would put him around $5,725. That's a bushel, isn't it? Here's Lubanski. Eddie throws. Hurry, 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 hurry. He's got it. Wilman, in the 14 games that he has bowled, he has won 9 and lost 5. Here's Lubanski now moving into the second frame. Eddie has started with a strike. Wilman started the last game with, or the first game rather, with 7 in a row and left the 10-pin and came back with another one. Hurry, hurry, hurry. Doesn't get there. He has the 2-5. So Lubanski, who trails by 91 pins, did not get the double in the 10th. Did not get the double in the second, rather. A little ahead of myself here. Lubanski, with a strike in the first frame, looks at the 2-5. Trying to cover, he did. So Lubanski is 20 in the first, spare in the second as Joe Wilman steps in. And his wife, Mary, seems to be relaxed for a change, as Joe has a comfortable margin, I would say. Joe throws, hurry, hurry, gets there thin, doesn't carry the 4-pin. Joe Wilman, a member of the Brunswick Advisory Staff of Champions. Joe will tell you he's covered 42 of the 48 states for the Brunswick organization. He's toured South America. He's been in Hawaii. He's made a trip in Canada. The vicious gum-chewing Joe Wilman. He may be a vicious gum chewer, but he's a very friendly, easygoing sort of a guy. You gotta like him, that's all. He's got the 4-pin. So at the end of 1, it's 19 spare for Wilman, 20 spare for Lubanski. Eddie actually has a 1-pin lead. You can almost put it down in your book that it is impossible for Mr. Lubanski to win this one. Joe up short now. Notice he starts with his left foot out in front of the right. He pulls the right up, takes 4 steps, and in, carries all but the 4-5. The 4-5 split for Joe Wilman in the third. So Lubanski is going out after that extra $100. Eddie still has potential 280. If you care for ifs and ands and statistics, if Eddie goes all the way and does show us 280, Wilman would still need 189. And as of this moment, Wilman doesn't have 189. It's a 4-5. He got it. Beautiful shot by Joe Wilman. The 4-5. That's the kind of shots you like to see. Makes a good picture, doesn't it? So here's Eddie Lubanski. Potentially 280. As we keep mentioning on championship bowling, if you can do it with a pencil, it can be done right here. Here's Eddie, throws too high, too high. Another 6-7 split. Well, Eddie can think about this alley when he goes back to Detroit, because it's certainly given him a lot of trouble. He has had the 6-7 split. In fact, he started with this very same lead in the first frame of the first game. Then he picked up a 4-7-10 in the 7th frame of the first game. He had the 7-9 on this alley in the second game. Look out, almost. Went past it. And Eddie now is 46 in the third. Eddie Lubanski. Eddie will tell you that the biggest thrill of his career was when he won the National Match Game Doubles Championships with his partner, of course, old Sergeant Ed Easter. Lubanski in the 4th, too high again, and he has the 6-7 again with company. He's got the 10-pin with it. Eddie Lubanski, born in Detroit in 1929, a fine sandlot ball player, quite a pitcher. Went into the minor leagues, played in the minor leagues a couple of years, and just quit. If I remember correctly, he had something like 14 or 15 games won against 3 or 4 losses, and he quit at the end of the season. Look out, he's got it! Beautiful shot by Eddie Lubanski. Well, he's been looking at that thing enough this week on championship bowling, and he finally got a line on it and flipped it over there beautifully for a spare in the 4th frame. It's sure nice to watch conversions like that. So now Joe Wilman is in the 4th. Joe just converted the 4-5 split on the very same alley. Throws. He's got it. Joe Wilman Wilman now with a strike in the fourth, has 57 in the third frame against Lubanski's 46. It's a lead of 11 pins for Wilman, plus the fact that he has a strike in the fourth against Lubanski's spare. But what a spare that was. Seems that when a fellow can turn in a split like the 6-7-10 or 4-7-10, that they ought to make a strike out of it so that if he gets another strike, it would count as a double. Well, that would mix everybody up, I guess. We better not try that. Here's Wilman in the fifth. He's got it. He's in there. 2 in a row. And Mr. Wilman just keeps going. Just like wine, this fella gets better with age.
Roll it, ball, Ed.
Eddie's in the fifth. Throws. Hurry, 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 hurry. He's got the 10 pin. Bad break for this youngster from Detroit. Eddie is a salesman in the Motor City. He's married, has 2 daughters and a son. And his wife, Betty, who we happen to know personally, is a real great bowling fan. When she comes out to watch Dad bowl, she's just throwing every ball with Eddie, much like Mrs. Wilman is doing right here. Eddie's got it. Eddie has a spare in the fifth frame. He has 65 in the fourth. Wilman already is potential 87. He has about a 22-pin lead. And Mr. Lubanski is way back there, about 112, 15 pins behind. Kind of a sad result for this young fella. 2-finger ball. Eddie throws, gets up there. Carries. Tears them apart. So Lubanski now with 85 in the fifth frame has a strike in the sixth. Wilman is 57 with strikes in the fourth and fifth frame. Wilman has the $1,000 wrapped up, and his winnings now stand at $5,625. He dropped it. Brooklyn, he got it. Well, that's what you call a gift from above, and Joe realizes it. Wilman now with 87 in the fourth. He's working on 3 strikes in a row. He leads Lubanski by 32 pins at the end of 6. Wilman throws. He's a little high. Has the 6-10. Joe Wilman leaving the 6-10 in the 7th frame. Here in Chicago Heights this week, the very famous Detroit bowling couple, Steve and Maxine Cruchon, to see the activity. We're in Chicago Heights, Illinois, the beautiful Olympia Lanes, just on the outskirts of Chicago, where these great bowling stars have entertained you weekly, and some real thrillers. Here's Wilman. He's going to the 6-10. He's got it. Stayed right with it. He wasn't too sure of it. Possibility of picking that 6 off. So Joe has 135 in the 6th. He has a spare in the 7th. And Eddie is on a strike in the 6th. And here he faces the alley that has just been murderous to him this week. He has had 4 wide open splits on the same alley, which of course makes it very difficult. You just can't get going when one alley bothers you continuously. Here he is. A little high, just a little high, and he left the 4-pin. So Eddie not getting a break at all the way, and Wilman just freewheeling. Not a thing to worry about. It's a nice situation for Wilman. Not too nice for Lubanski. He has the 4-pin. He covers. 105 for Eddie in the 6th with a spare in the 7th. Eddie Lubanski, who was the runner-up to Steve Nagy in the 1954 National Singles Championships at the Chicago Coliseum. And Eddie has been quite prominent in that competition. 478 games he's bowled. He's averaged 202. Here's Eddie in the 8th. Hurry. Doesn't get there. The 2-4-5-8. The bucket. The dinner bucket. It should look easy. It probably looks easy, in as much as they look very close together. So for you non-bowlers, I just want to let you know it is not as easy as it looks. If you are a bowler, you can understand my feeling. You can pick the 2 off the 5. That's the center pin off the 1 on the right. You can leave the pin in the back, the 8 pin. Or you can just about make it like that. Eddie almost picked the 2 off the 5. The 5 still was out on the alley. So Eddie has 121 in the 7th. He has a spare in the 8th. Wilman is 135 in the 6th with a spare in the 7th, averaging 219 for the 14 games. And his first game in 5 appearances on championship bowling, his average has been 235. He's there a little high, and Joe has the 4-7-10 now. And this gives Eddie a life to pull this 3rd game out of the fire. Joe Wilman won the National Match Game Doubles Championship twice, title that Lubanski also won. Wilman won it in 46, and he had to wait 7 years to win it again. He won it with an old teammate of his, John Small, and then with a young fella named Carmen Salvino. Watch it. Not enough. He leaves the 10 pin, gets the 4-7. Wilman now is 161 in the 8th. So Lubanski is 121 and a spare in the 8th. Eddie trailing now by 20 pins in the 3rd and final game. Wilman now moving to the left side. Takes it nice and easy, rolls it up there, and he gets the strike. He kicks the 4 pin out of there for a strike in the 9th. And Lubanski still has a chance to win the extra $100. Wilman is in to boost his winnings to $5,625. If he wins this game, it'll be $5,725. And that's not hay. Lubanski in the 9th throws. Hurry, hurry. He doesn't get there. He leaves the 1-2. Eddie Lubanski missing the head pin in the 9th. He trails Wilman by 12 pins. Still has a chance. He can force Wilman to mark in the 10th. And Wilman is in a good position to make it a sweep over Lubanski. The 1-2, Eddie converts. Oh, almost picked the 1 off the 2. Wilman, having won 9 and lost 5 in the 14 games that he's bowled thus far, can make it 10-5 if he can win the last one. Here's Eddie in the 10th, throws, hurry, gets there, and carries. So Lubanski still fighting him out there, has 159 in the 9th, a chance for 189. Wilman will have to get 9 pins to tie. He's down on both knees. He leaves the 4 pin. This kid has been fighting all the way. You can bet on that. So Lubanski, unable to give us a double in the 3rd game, converted a 6-7 split. Converted a 6-7-10. He left a 6-7, which he did not convert. He had a 6-7 in the first game. He had a 4-7-10 in the first game, and he had a 7-9 in the second game. Hasn't missed a spare, but those wide open splits certainly have cut him down. Eddie's 3rd game is 179, and here is Joe Wilman. Wilman is 161 in the 8th. He has a strike in the 9th. Throws, got to hurry, Joe, got to hurry. He finally got there. Oh, that took a long time, and he has the double now. So Wilman can get 221, and his average will be right practically at 220 for 15 games. Member of the American Bowling Congress Hall of Fame. Joe feels that's the biggest thrill or the biggest satisfaction that he has received in this game after being in it for some 35 years. Gotta hurry, Joe. Look out. Yeah, that one really came up there, Joe. He got it! He got it coming off the kickback. How do you like that? Well, when you're out there, you get balls like that. Sometimes when you want one, when you need it, you just couldn't buy a break like that. So Wilman has 3 in a row, and he now has the chance for the 221 that we mentioned. And here is the final ball in the match. Wilman throws, and he's out taking the scenic route again. He's going to turn around to see if it doesn't happen again. It doesn't, Joe. He counted 7. His game 218. Now this is Fred Wolf. We'll be back for the complete results and the final presentation after the folks who bring you championship bowling every week present this message. It's 1-7. Total of 562. For Joe Wilman, 267, 207, 218. The total 692. So the winner, Joe Wilman, 692 over Lubanski's 562. Eddie? A little rough here, this fella, don't you think?
Well, I couldn't have lost to a better man.
We have $300 for you, Eddie, for your losing share, and for you, Moneybags, $100 for winning the 3rd game, another $1,000 for defeating this poor young fella from Detroit. Your winnings now, Joe, have totaled $5,725. You're averaging $220 for 15 games. You satisfied with that?
I love to hear those words.
Let's give these two fellas a nice hand. They've done a marvelous job. Good luck to you. Eddie Lubanski and Joe Wilman. Well, it was another great match. 2 more of the nation's top bowling stars appearing on championship bowling. And now this is Fred Wolf just saying good bowling to you.